Hi guys, welcome back to 25 Sweet Peas. Okay, so today I'm going to be reviewing these three different brushes. We have like your long, thin striper brush here. It's the one with the blue handle, which just so you know, these are metal. Not sure if you could hear that tapping noise. Then the gold one we have is the next size down, and it's a little bit thicker than the blue one. And then this one, the black handled one, is your really good like thin little detail brush. It's a bit thicker, which makes it easier for smaller detail, weirdly enough. So I'm going to show you just like how to do stripes with each of these brushes so you can see what type of stripes you're gonna get with them. And we're just gonna play around with these. Okay, so first up we're gonna go with the big one, which has the blue handle. And I'm going to be using black acrylic paint just to make it really pop, and I have already dipped my brush in water just to get it, movable. So we're just going to go over this and put it like a stripe that way, and that is a pretty good stripe. That didn't take too much effort. Stays pretty even. Let's try it. I always try to take the excess off of my brush first. Start here and just go all the way down. Yeah, that does a pretty good stripe. And this is the blue handled one, just so you know. We'll just add in some other random stripes, to fully play with it. It's a pretty good job. Let's see. Also, just in case you're wondering, I am using acrylic paint for this. I always prefer to do details with acrylic paint, plus it cleans a lot nicer off a brush of any sort. So there you go. As you can see, it's really important to make sure you get all your excess paint off, but also have enough on it to keep the steady stream going down, which can be kind of difficult at times. So let's just add in one more stripe so you guys can really see how that one works. So it does a pretty good job. It allows you, since it's longer, you can like lay it down and get a more of a full stripe at once, but yet you can also still use it for little detail. But as for like control of doing little details, like it's not gonna work as well as the littler ones. So you can see I was trying to do like a swirl, and since this one is longer, it has a tendency to bend more, so therefore you don't have as much control when doing fine detail. But that again is why this is a striping brush. Okay, so now let's move on to one of the other brushes. Okay, next up I'm going to go in with the gold handled brush, which this one is like an in-between brush of this set, and I would say it's a little bit thicker than the last one. You can kind of see how it plays out, yet they move pretty well. And so I'm just gonna wet that and then go in with black paint, and we'll just go on the snail and like try to make a line all the way down. That did a really good job, minus the fact that I had too much water on my brush. Oops, let's wipe that off. Another great thing about acrylic paint is you can wipe it off, guys. Yeah, that I feel like I almost have more control over just because it is a bit stiffer, which is nice. It's a lot easier. However, the line obviously isn't as thin. It is a bit of a thicker line, which, I mean, obviously you can play around with that by loading your brush differently and getting off excess and so on. Now let's see how it is at making like little details. Let's say we want to make a star. That's not too bad. Not too bad at all. Let's try the same test like I did with the other one with like a swirl. Can you get little details? Now since this one is still a bit longer than the smallest one in here, but it is thicker, it is harder to get to bend around, if that makes sense. So that's still a bit iffy. Still not the perfect detail brush, but it's going to be pretty good for like if you're going to do a tribal print. That'd be pretty good. And it would probably work really well for floral, so things to keep in mind. And also, I never tested this with the last brush, but let's see if we can do some dots. You can... So they make pretty decent dots. That's when you like... I always, if you're going to do dots with a brush, you don't necessarily wipe the excess off. You leave the excess on the bottom of your brush and do some dots, and it usually works pretty well. Okay. Now let's get out the smallest brush. Okay, now I have the smallest brush in the set, which is the black handled one. And as you can see, it's quite fine. These remind me a lot of Winstonia's berry wine brushes. The smallest one in this set isn't as small as the smallest one in that set, but it's still pretty comparable, which I may have to do a blog post about to share with you guys because it seems like those berry wine ones are always sold out. Okay, so here we're going with the smallest brush. I'm actually really happy with that line. I feel like since it is smaller, like I have more control of where it's going. I mean, obviously it's a bit thicker, but I'm okay with that. Obviously that's gonna vary upon your design. Let's see downwards. Yeah, that does a pretty good job. I could see this one being really good for detailing. Let's just take this all the way up. Now everybody has their own ways of doing stripes, but I feel like sometimes shorter strokes is nicer because you have more control. Because you know, when you use a long brush, you like push down and then it goes wonky on the curve of your nail or something. So let's just add in another stripe so you guys be sure to see that. Now let's see how this one dots. We'll do that on the edge. That dot's more consistently controlled, which is nice. Now let's try to do a swirl with this one. I bet we'll be able to. Yeah, you've got a lot more control over this one, which is nice. Yeah, I would say the swirl on this one was the most successful for sure. I think that honestly is because it's shorter and still a little thick, so you really do have more control, which is nice. So, there's your look at the different line consistencies of this set and so on. I would imagine that you could even take more paint off this and maybe get a finer line. Not too much. So really with the long one, you get the finest line and it just goes up. However, with the thickest, shortest one, you have more control over what your line and details are going to look like. So I am going to do some of this on paper and show you guys in a lineup. So let's take a look at that. Overall, I really liked these brushes. Here you can see how they act on paper. So obviously paper is going to vary a little bit from what you're going to get on your nail. You're going to have a smoother finish on your nail. I think they're a great price point for this quality of a brush, considering the handles are metal too, which will help with the lasting ability of them. Plus, I mean, $4.44 isn't that much, and there's a 10% off that you can get with your order, and I believe they have free shipping worldwide. So all that information is going to be in the description box below, and there's also going to be a blog post up today to go with it. Also, you will be seeing art using these brushes in the next upcoming weeks for sure, and on today's blog post. So thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys next time. Bye!